All right. Greetings, gods and goddesses in training. How's everybody doing? I hope you're all doing very well. And let's have an incredible lecture today in terms of this incredible topic that I came across. And I've heard a lot of different masters, mentors, gurus, um, you know, understanding where they're really coming from when it comes down to a Swadharma. Now, if you ever heard this word before, you haven't heard this word before, I'm going to be explaining it to you as if you're brand new to this concept, okay? So, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this transmission today. I'm just going to send it to the tribe before I forget. All right. Okay, cool. So, let's talk about the Swadharma, okay? So, your Swadharma is your true path, or you could say your more soul-aligned path. I think the best place to begin with your Swadharma is actually your Adharma, okay? So the way I see it is kind of like your anti-vision, right? You have a vision of what you want. You've also have to create a vision of what you don't want. Hey there, sweetheart. So once you create a vision of what you want, there's going to also be a vision of what you don't want on the other side of that. And you have to know what drains you, what, makes you feel false or heavy or misaligned. And you have to get honest about that first, right? And once you get honest about that, then you won't define what you won't. So as you define what you won't tolerate, it gives you emotional clarity and fuel to move forward and actually do what you want, right? So it reveals what your inner compass already knows. Now, Swadharma is a very Sanskrit word that roughly translates to one's own dharma, right? Your personal path, your law of being, your law of self, uh, your law of sacred responsibility, okay? So it's not, don't think of it as a career path, okay? Or like career counseling or career goaling, goaling, right? It's a natural rhythm of your spirit when it's aligned with the greater harmony of the cosmos. So the cosmos is always vibrating. Shiva and Shakti are dancing, making love in the universe, and that's called Spando. And so if you can tap into this understanding of the Spando, you also get direct contact, I believe, to the Swadharma. Now, this isn't from any Vedic teachings. This is just from, the guides that I work with that have clarified this to me. And following your Swadharma brings you not just success, but a deep sense of alignment as well. Another concept which is quite interesting to Swadharma is Swamurti, which is your form in the astral, is kind of a way that you could say a self-idol, a self Murti, right? Self-statue. It is your highest God form uh, that is available to you, right? So you could think of it like a higher self in a certain way, right? Like my higher self is associated with a different form, of course, and it doesn't feel very tethered to physical reality, okay? So Swadharma isn't forced, it's a very spontaneous unfolding, okay? So if you can think of it like that, it's really going to help you to make things very clear for you on how to move forward with this and how you can actually let it expand you into a greater self, right? So your Swadharma brings not just a success, but also a very deep sense of alignment, a deep sense of joy and spiritual integrity, because you're not just doing what you love, right? You're doing what you are, in a sense. So first, you clear the noise of the adharma, which is the false self, the distractions, the inherited programming, the baggage, the inherited scripts, and then listen. What is trying to flow through you? I think from silence, we can really find our Swadharma, from deep stillness, right? So, of course, the greatest example of Swadharma is found in the Bhagavad Gita, right? And I'm going to get into that. But basically, understanding the essence of it is to understand your innate duty, your soul mission, what you're here to do, right? So your Swadharma is not optional, right? Let me just share the whiteboard. It'll be much easier to explain these different concepts. So first thing to note is it's not optional, right? And once we understand it's non-negotiable in the cosmic order, or it's also known as the Jagat chakra, right? So not doing it leads to inner death because it is your offering to God, your access point to the divine. If you could be a god of anything, what would you be a god of? I would obviously be a god of flow. What would you be a god of? I'm not saying the god. I'm saying what God fractal would you choose? What fragment of the divine would you choose? You see what I'm saying? So Swadharma is a divine inspiration. Okay. And the word inspire, of course, it's related to breath. It arises not from the mind, but from inspiration in the Akasha. So that's seeded by the creator. And if you're very attuned and you're very sincere, you receive this direct impulse, this divine impulse, very direct, right? And rituals are very symbolic. So real puja is you doing your duty in harmony with the cosmos, right? The entire universe is your real temple. Your life is your altar, in a sense. The cool thing about Swadharma is that it's an odd auto protection for you. You're already protected when you follow your path, when you know this is what I'm supposed to do, right? Even against gods or demons, right? Krishna lifting Govardhan Hills shows, do your dharma, he said, and I'll take care of the rest. Do your dharma, I'll take care of the rest. Do your dharma, I'll take care of the rest. So it's almost like an ecological stewardship too, right? Because Swadharma was originally also nomadic organic cow grazing to uphold the soil health and the biodiversity and food security. And Krishna affirmed this by embodying Govardhan Hill, the pasture land itself. So Krishna's actions weren't just innovations, they were restorations of corrupted tradition. So he corrected deviations and restored the dharma of entire species and communities. So when I becomes isolated from family life, we start exploiting. We start exploiting. The shift from we to me leads to destruction. Because if you reject your swadharma, I'll explain it like this. If you reject your swadharma, you're inviting in your adharma, okay? Your anti-vision, what you don't want. That's the complete opposite of your soul mission, right? So this actually gives you fuel knowing what your adharma is, but if you reject your soul mission, it's going to cause more complications, chaos, resistance in your life. Just like how, Arjuna knows he's a warrior. That is his Swadharma, right? However, at the same time, Krishna is going, why are you not acting like your Swadharma? Why are you randomly, going against this just because of your own misunderstandings, right? Yo, Ryan G. So this is really, really a key point here is that this energy restores a cosmic harmony, right? And true devotion is offering to the fruit of Swadharma. So not separate rituals, but the actual act of living in a divine rhythm with your design, right? So even cows grazing in the right lands become agents for a divine balance in a sense. So the divine doesn't ask for blind loyalty to any deity or institution because Krishna overrides Indra's worship, teaching that God receives what is offered with a authentic dharmic action, right? There's a word that I heard from a guru quite recently. I want to share this. Dharmically adamant. Dharmically adamant. That's that let's see the definition of this. Because I know that adamant means like a resilience or a sense of you're uprooted in your soul's duty or something. Yeah. Unshakably rooted in your soul's duty. Yeah. So Dharma is your personal, well, your cosmic responsibility, your soul aligned path, and being adamant is unyielding, right? Firm to your path, firm to your truth, diamond-like or vajra-like in its nature, right? So you're living your path with conviction. That's what dharmically adamant means, right? So trying to handle life independently is an insult to God, right? Dependency on God is divine maturity, actually. It's not a weakness. So just like a child is working odd jobs while his father is a king, it's kind of a misplaced struggle. Okay. So I've been watching some esoteric videos from like a few other influencers, Zerka and you know, a few others, Speed, Kai, all these like streamer community people. And one thing that I came across was there's a random bird that just flew over my head. Well, not over my head, but outside my window. Um, so as I've been tapping into this information, I noticed that I took some notes, right, from the esoteric discussions. Also, I've been looking into Steiner and so forth. And one thing that came up was if my heart is racing, it's probably a hallucination. But if my heart is stone, it's the real deal. Because your journey or your path shouldn't feel like it's kind of like an intoxicating high. It's more like a calming, grounded presence. Okay. So this is how you can know if it's just your delusions or it's the real revelations, the intuition that's coming through. Okay. And if you are thinking about your spiritual self, your Swadharma, your core, you become magnetic. This is why it's important, guys. So when you go inwards, you can actually psychically influence others more rather than going outwards, right? Because if you're going outwards, then you're constantly trying to manipulate the physical world rather than the metaphysical, which is access through within. So how do you remember better? You attach it to something very personal to you, correct? So you have to make this journey personal to you so that your memories can help you smoothen out, move forward into a divine living bhakti. Bhakti is devotion, okay? So think of Swadharma as living devotion, okay? So sleep reveals our dependence on God because in deep sleep, we're embraced by prajna and God, right? So even rejuvenation is divine touch. It's not a biochemical randomness. Okay. So created by the divine, the Taijasa from your Vasanas, they're personal teachings, right? Dreams are divine personal teachings. They're divine messages. They're not just psychological noise at times. Well, psychologists like to believe that, think it's so, but if you read some of these ancient texts, you'll get that this is God speaking to you through divine messages, so you better listen up, right? So start making moments sacred again. Um, Nothing nourishes the soul but God. So all tastes, all joys, all awakenings are ultimately God him giving himself. Hydrogen and oxygen don't quench. The divine rasa does, right? So Swadharma isn't about your career. It isn't about your comfort. It is like a sacred contract with creation. Okay. And once you understand the sacred contract with creation, then if you refuse it, you weaken. If you embody it, even the gods must yield to your authenticity. Okay. So this is like an inner war of sacred duty. So it's not your job, it's not your passion, it's not your plan. It is a divine sacred contract etched in your soul before your incarnation. Okay? It is the encrypted resonance of your being. And until you align with it, you will suffer. So this is not about religion, it's about precision. You're not here to explore like a kind of a tourist in the Matrix. You're here as a deployed cell of the cosmic brain, dislocated from source, right? You were split from this God fractal as an individual here on Earth, tasked with crawling back through fire, karma, delusion. Now you're in this kind of, you're seeing all these patterns and loops. But understand this, Swadharma is not optional. The Gita wasn't whispered in a yoga studio, right? It was shouted in the roar of Kurukshetra where blood met purpose. So Krishna didn't tell Arjuna to retreat into a cave. He said, fight, but not for your ego, not for outcome. Fight because your dharma depends on it, right? Because not fighting would rot your soul, actually. Swadharma is the razor that severs confusion from clarity. It doesn't ask you what you feel like doing. It doesn't wait for your moods, your trauma healing, or your opinion polls. It commands your life force to rise, to purify, to serve the planet. So this isn't some motivational fluff, right, guys? This is some metaphysical law. So let's treat it as it is, a very sacred thing. And it's better to fail at your own dharma than succeed in another's. Okay? I'm sure a lot of you would agree that you want to lead your own life, not like Tony Robbins' life or Gary Vee's life or Eckhart Tolle's life or, Andrew Tate's life. No, you live your own life. You live, and that comes through tenetnoske, understanding the self, right? Understanding the self, self-knowledge. And you have to understand if you violate this, your psyche starts to collapse from within. But if you live it, if you know I'm here to do this thing, man, and I'm going to align with the entire macrocosm, the macrocosmos, to be able to understand this from within, right? It rearranges to support your stride. Because the truth is, we've all been battle tested for this. Every wound, heartbreak, addiction, false start was a forced recalibration. So your cosmic algorithm right, kept glitching because you weren't walking the line of your own design. But when Swadharma is activated, your senses, what can I see, what can I hear, start to serve the soul. So discipline becomes a devotion, even pain becomes fuel, and Maya, the illusion that mocks you, tempts you, binds you, starts retreating because she only bows to those who stand in their sacred duty. So she's not your enemy, she's your examiner, right? The illusion is your examiner, a fierce gatekeeper who lets only the qualified warriors pass into transcendence. That's what illusion is. That's what Maya is in the Hindu concept, right? So Swadharma is sovereignty, really. It's the code of the spiritual rebel who refuses to outsource their power, their path, or their prayer. Okay? So you don't beg for meaning, you create it through action. You don't seek peace in detachment, right? You earn it by burning every excuse at the altar of inner alignment. Okay? 1 second, guys. I just have to check in with something. Okay, thank you for your patience. So let's kind of see it like this, okay? Swadharma is your yogic warpath, your sacred madness, okay? Your permission slip to break generational curses with a primal devotion. So you will be misunderstood. You will be mocked by others who don't understand you. You will be tempted to quit. But if you stay the course, I promise you, the very gods that tested you will come bowing at your feet, not because you asked, but because you answered. Your swadharma is not a chore. It is a cosmic weapon. You pick it up, you wield it. It's like dying for your cross as a Christian, right? It's the same idea. Or dying spiritually slow with empty hands and wasted breath. So your soul didn't come here for comfort. It came to remember and to act accordingly. So a lot of people, why are they, there's people who are like working at Walmart, right? Maybe that's their Swadharma. Who are you to come in and impose your will and be like, that's not fair. Get out of there. I have to rescue you. I have to save you, right? Now you're causing adharma because you're imposing your will on them. You see what I'm saying? Like if your mom is a heavy, into religion and she's Muslim and she's practicing, that tradition, who are you to go and tell her, right, with your new age ideals that mom, stuff in the Quran is wrong and who are you to say that, right? Or let's say somebody's Christian, your friend is a Christian to you. Who are you to go over and try to convert him into another thing, right? That's a Swadharma. Let him live. Let people live. That's one of the main, I think, understandings of this, okay? So if you want to know why your mind spins when they enter the room, or why your spine shivers at a glance, or why your purpose, dissolves into a flood of a gaze, a smile, a scent, it's not just lust, it's Kamadeva, the god of desire. Because as I've worked with Kamdev, who's also very much so associated with my sacral chakra, that's how he charges the Makara's energy as well. So I've understood that each of his arrows, right, of Kamadeva are designed to dismantle your discipline if you're not rooted in your dharma. Okay? So that means love takes people off of their dharma at times, and it's meant to do so. Okay? So once you detect these arrows, okay, I'm gonna show this to you guys very briefly. So we have the arrow form, the arrow of bewilderment, the arrow of drying. Notice these steps in relationships as well, guys. This is very, very powerful. If you really get it, you will avoid the pitfalls of chaos, okay? A very powerful thing to know. And the transmutation is you use your drishti shuddhi, you purify your gaze, right? You look without reaching, you witness without trying to weave a story out of it, and you see the divine in form, not form as divine. This is the mistake, okay? Everyone's like, what about the Shroud of Turin? What about this thing? What about that thing? These are all still materialistic things that you guys are chasing, right? A real believer, they don't need physical artifacts or archaeological, benefits to try to make something work for you. So every time you're tempted to spiral into fantasy, you chant. Real mantra is fire, right? It burns desire into clarity, and you breathe from the hara line, not the heart. So once you recenter, Kamdev, he targets your chest to return to your core. And you got to act from dharma, not your longing, right? I think a lot of people, we think that desire is the enemy, but it's actually unanchored desire that's the enemy. You got to give it somewhere to move, right? Moksha, kama, like these different things are a part of Hinduism, right? So it's not that the yogis are saying, don't seek pleasure. They're saying, I'm going to seek the greatest pleasure ever that overrides this physical pleasure, actually, right? So they're almost pleasure rebels, monks, yogis, rishis, whatever. They're pleasure rebels, right? Think so. I'm just giving you a different perspective. So Ananga is the arrow of form. So without body, but felt with full force. So the moment the eyes lock with a person, the outline, the symmetry of their body, the biological magnetism. You haven't spoken, you haven't touched, but the soul's radar blips. Dangerous beauty detected. This is like a first hook, the glance that bends willpower. This is why the first battlefield is your eyes. your gaze. Look once with presence, look twice with desire, look thrice, and your soul is on the leash. This is Ananga, without body, but felt with full force. Okay? Mohana. Okay, shout out to Moana too, the movie, which keeps coming up. Mohana is the arrow of bewilderment, the lover's fog. This is where logic crumbles. You smile when they smile. You replay their words like sacred chants. You assign meaning to coincidence. You forget your mission. Your sadhana weakens a bit. This is the psychic fog of projection. Kamadeva is now clouding your intellect, your buddhi. So you no longer see clearly. You see what your longing paints as an image. Then you feel parched without them. The hunger grows, the fire dims if they're not near you. You feel hollow, you fantasize them into a myth. You become restless, irritable, imbalanced. Desire is now an emotional dependence masquerading as a romance. And this is where energy leaks begin. You lose prana, you lose your center, and you become dehydrated. And stambhana is the frozen by fantasy. You can't speak around them. You can't move with confidence. You lose flow. The mind loops on what if. Action dies. Your sadhana becomes completely inconsistent. You delay your mission. You hesitate to execute because their opinion has become your god. And Kamadeva now holds your will hostage. The masculine in you freezes. The soul screams, but the body won't move. And of course, the final one is if you go through these levels and stages, guys, you will bypass this path. I'm telling you that this is a very interesting way to look at it. The final one is the arrow of madness. You act out, you break your own code, you seek them obsessively. Even when it hurts, you go back. You feel insane and call it fate. This is bhoga at its peak, the illusion that pleasure will finally fill you. This is the final arrow, guys. And this is the one that hits kings, emperors, everybody, right? And if it hits and you're not anchored in your Swadharma, guess what? You fall fully into karma. You loop lifetimes to clean up this one glance. And so we already pre-program, prepare, and practice that when we get hit with bewilderment, drying, paralysis, and madness, we can tame the chaos by breathing from the heart, not the heart. But every time you're tempted to spiral into these mental concepts, you chant, you raise your frequency up, right? And with your eyes, you let it form the story, okay? And your eyes is definitely how your mind is working, right? With your eyes, if you're looking sideways, it's auditory. If you're looking up and you're closing your eyes and you're looking up, it's the vision, right? And if you're looking down, it's feeling, okay? So just by the eyes, there's so much to tell about a person's senses and sense perception and what they're working with, okay? So very, very key to understand this. And guys, Kamadeva is not evil. He's just a sacred tester of all warriors on the path. But you don't escape his arrows, I'm afraid. You absorb them, you burn them in tapasya, and you return them as weapons of love consciousness. If Krishna can transform rasa into transcendence, so can you, but only if you stay on your path, your path. Only if your Swadharma is stronger than your fantasy. Only if you understand that the highest form of sex is with the divine through action, service, and radical self-honor. So you now ask yourself, which arrow am I currently getting pierced by? And what will I do to alchemize it? Okay. Welcome to the battlefield of your senses. This is not repression. This is a mastery. So understand this and really get into this, right? Um, let me speak a little bit to end by speaking about Swamurti. Um, this is going to be a very interesting topic. And if you've heard of Swadharma, which I just explained to you, it's your sacred soul's duty. If you talk of Swamurti, okay, it's the embodiment of yourself as deity. It's not about worshiping statues, it's becoming the living idol of your own divine essence. So Swa is self and Murti is form. So Swamurti is the form of your being when it becomes so aligned with your higher nature that you yourself become the shrine, the walking sigil, the walking meditation, right? It's your form in the astral in a sense. So this is not about ego inflation. It's about shedding the fake identities, the layers of programming, the masks of your cultural conditioning, the shadow work, right? Until only the radiant signature of your soul remains. And then you walk it, you breathe it, you radiate it. Because Swamurti is the final rebellion against external authority. Because your internal sanctum, right? Your inner sanctum becomes the source of your awakening, your gnosis, your guidance, your power. When you reach Swamurti, your presence alone becomes a transmission, a broadcast. People will feel it when you enter a room. They don't know whether to bow or to run. You are no longer seeking God. You are mirroring the absolute through your own vessel, a living sculpture of Shakti, Shiva, Christ, truth, Buddha, whatever you want to call it. So don't just chant mantras. Become the mantra, the rhythm. Don't just study the scriptures and old texts. Live so that your life writes a new one. Swamurti is not for the faint-hearted. It's for the ones that are truly willing to burn their false self at the altar of truth and rise as the embodied presence of their own inner divinity. Yo, SLW, what's up, man? Do you have any questions on this topic? Right now, I'm talking about Swamurti, which is basically the embodiment of yourself as deity, and Swadharma, which is like your divine inspiration, your path, your ikigai, your, raison d'être, whatever you want to call it. So, if you want to live aligned, you don't find your path, you become the path. Become the form of your own highest self, right? That's Swamurti. And it's waiting for you inside of you like a dormant star, but one act of radical self-recognition away from blazing into being. Okay. So, okay. So, oh man, hold on. I gotta blow my nose. 1 second. Swadharma. So let's do a bit of a recap. Swadharma is like your soul signature assignment. Okay. Swa is self, Dharma is law. So isn't this a self law? It's not a cute passion project that I started last week. It's not a job title that looks cool on a resume. It's the divine rhythm your spirit has been grooving to since before your mama met your daddy. Okay? It's the divine rhythm your spirit's been grooving to before your mama met your daddy. See, most folks are out here lost because they're living someone else's path. They're living under someone else's shadow. I think we know some people like that, huh, Ryan G? Who live under people's shadows. You know who I'm talking about, right? The society's blueprint, their daddy's expectation, their guru's shadow, right? They're wearing suits that don't fit and wondering why life feels like suffocation. But Swadharma, that's when you stop outsourcing your damn destiny. That's when the microcosm and the macrocosm you line up like gears in a cosmic engine, and suddenly your every move has got thunder behind it, right? Yo, what's up, Mathis? So let me tell you something, guys. Swadharma is not a five-step plan. It's just remembering. You don't figure it out, you feel it out. You follow the breadcrumbs of curiosity, of grief, of rage, of beauty, and suddenly you're speaking your soul's dialect. Now, some of you want to wait until the stars align or some kind of a celestial hand sign as a permission slip. But let me ask you this. When are you going to stop clocking into somebody else's dream and start showing up for your own lore, your own myth, your own story? Because guess what, guys? The Swadharma is not passive. It's you saying, this life, this breath, this wild cosmic ride, I'm gonna ride it like it was meant for me because it damn well was. Because it damn well was. And that's Swadharma, your spiritual fingerprint carved into the rhythm of the universe. So walk with this, guys. Own it. Bleed for it if you got to. But whatever you do, don't ignore it. Okay? Don't ignore it. Because if you ignore it, it's like watching your life that someone else left over, right? So again, let me track with you guys. I'm going to end it very shortly, but let me track with you guys right now. How do you find your Swadharma in four logical steps? One, you start with the adharma, the anti-vision, as I said. Start with your anti-vision. What drains you? What feels fake to you? What kind of life do you refuse to live? If you can't find your soul's yes, then get honest about your hell no. List out the jobs, the habits, and patterns that make you feel dead inside. Then burn it. This is the compost. You got to build from the ashes, okay? So figure out what your adharma is, your anti-vision. Okay, these are the four steps. Step one, you start with your adharma. Next is you track your flow state, not the high, okay? So you track your flow state. When do you forget time? When do you most feel like you? Because your Swadharma speaks in energy, not in titles. So you got to notice what energizes you versus what depletes you, right? What could you do for free just because it lights you up? Because flow isn't a luxury, right? It's your compass. And you can't hype yourself up like your own hype man. Instead, you got to allow, you got to get into that acceptance frequency, right? So this is what is really, really key for number two. Number three is you follow the soul signals, not the resume. What themes repeat in your life? Really, you could say, I'm a god of blank, but you're really saying, what is my spiritual theme, which creates my spirit team, right? So, what themes repeat in your life over and over again in terms of the pain, the passion, the patterns? Look at your struggles not as curses, but as codes. Look at your, oftentimes the greatest suffering is your assignment. You're actually not here to heal it, you're here to embody the medicine to it. Okay, so you've been through something really horrific, really tragic, really traumatic. That's actually there to help you to heal, right? The planet. Because when you think in terms of this mindset, guys, you start to uplift your own energy because you're serving the collective now. And that's the next step. That's the final step is you start to serve something greater than yourself. I promise you guys, if you start here, this is where the purpose becomes, this is where the passion becomes purpose, right? This is that understanding of how you can actually get towards your Swadharma. And remember, it's not found. You're not finding your Swadharma, you're remembering it. It's a resonance, not a role. So strip away from the noise, okay? When I say serve something greater than yourself, you have to ask yourself, how does your path uplift the whole? Okay? Because it's not selfish, it's symphonic. I know I'm an only child, so I was kind of raised to make myself selfish. But then with Ellie's help and healing me and like other people, many coaches I've met, and then meeting Ryan G and then doing shadow work with him, like this journey started to create an orchestra, right? And now Primal Sutra is my Swadharma in a sense, right? Because the more I align with it, the more it starts playing different musical notes and melodies in my life. So I have to ask myself, how can I use my unique nature to serve something timeless? And if you want to create your own spirit team, your own omnitrix in a sense, hey, You got to join primalsutramysteryschool.com. Okay. We'll see you there. Go click that, pay the monthly fee. I'll add you to the Telegram group. Join us, all adepts. Watch the old channelings and recordings. I think there's like 600 plus, 700 plus videos or something in there in that library, right? That video vault. So, hey, man, you got a lot of catching up to do, but let me say this. When you align with your Swadharma, you will notice that you're serving something greater than yourself, your timelessness. Okay? So this is what I really want you guys to focus on. And yeah, appreciate the shout out. Awesome. Orchestrators of flow uh equals Primal Sutra. Absolutely. Orchestrators of flow, right? The defenders of joy. You already know what it is. Swadharma is not optional, okay? It's a living bhakti. Let's get it today. Thank you so much for tapping in. Yep, many videos. Thank you so much for tapping in, guys. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. I gotta now tune into this class that I'm doing online and then have some clients and reports to write. But I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. Have a great Sunday. Don't make it super lazy. Okay, you can take your rest, you rejuvenate. Don't make it so lazy. It's like, I mean, Ellie probably needs to because she's had an all-nighter or whatever, and some of you guys probably need rest too. But I'm just saying, don't think of like, oh, Sunday, so it's just gonna be another, you create something, make it fun for you. Okay. I think we're missing that fun. So, um, watch something that makes you laugh your ass off today. Okay. Let's get it. Upward spiral, gang. May we never be the same again. Let's win. See you guys. Peace.